Good morning, everyone here on Facebook. Pastor Klein here. I hope you're all doing well this morning. Hope you're all up ready to have a little bit of church. We're going to do our morning devotion here in a few minutes. I will give as many people as possible a chance to log on here. Good morning to all you that are logging on. I won't start saying hello because then I'll forget some people and don't want anybody to get upset. But we'll wait another second or two to give everybody the opportunity to log on this morning. I hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all being safe. Pray that all of your families are doing well. Miss evening light, miss being in church, like I'm sure many of you do. Miss it very, very, very much. But I hope you're all doing well this morning. We'll wait a few more minutes and give some people a chance to log on. We'll let you know that we'll just be doing a short devotional this morning like we did last week. And then we will have another service again tonight at 5:30. Tonight at 5:30 we will be back on. So we want everybody to be prepared and ready for that. We'll wait a few more moments here and let as many people as can log on. Once again, good morning, Evening Light, to our extended family. If you're not a member of Evening Light and you're on here too, good morning to you. May the blessings of God be with you also. We'll wait a few more minutes. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. All right. Once again, good morning to everyone that is here. I'm going to go ahead and get started this morning. Just once again, want to remind everybody we'll be back on tonight at 5:30 tonight, so keep that in mind. Assuming that you can all hear me this morning, I want to go ahead and just go to the Word of God. If you have a Bible and you want to turn to the book of Lamentations, you can do that real quick. We'll be in the book of Lamentations, chapter number 3 this morning. Lamentations, chapter number 3. I'm going to be reading from verses 21 through 23 in Lamentations, chapter number 3. And the Bible reads like this. This I recall to my mind, therefore have I hope. It is of the Lord's mercies that we are not consumed, because his compassions fail not. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. Great is thy faithfulness. I just want to ask a couple questions to everybody that's logged on this morning. Just want to see how everybody thinks. How many of you this morning, you got out of bed, however long ago that was, and you brushed your teeth? I hope you brushed your teeth. You brushed your teeth, and when you reached for the sink and you turned the handle on the sink and the water started flowing out, how many of you ran through the entire house to tell everybody about it? How many of you went and woke up everybody else in the house and said, come in the bathroom and look at this. I turned this handle and water started coming out. This is simply amazing. How many of you reacted like that? Or you walked out of the bathroom and you came downstairs to walk into your kitchen, and you flipped the light switch on in the kitchen, and when the lights came on, how many of you went crazy about it? How many of you went running through the house again saying, you got to come and see this. I walked in the room and there was this little switch on the wall. When I flipped the switch up, the lights came on. There's lights in the house. You got to see this absolutely amazing thing. How many of you did that? Or you walked outside this morning, or you looked out the window, and it's a gorgeous day outside from what I can see. And how many of you looked outside and looked up in the sky and just in amazement had to run back in the house and tell everybody, come out here and look, there's this giant, huge ball of gas that is up in the sky that's producing light, and we can see now because there's this huge thing outside that's making everything bright. How many of us reacted that way when we saw the sun this morning? Probably none of us. I'll speak for me and you can speak for you. I went in the bathroom and brushed my teeth, and I expected the water to come out. When I turned the light on in the kitchen, I expected the lights to come on. And when I looked out the window this morning, I was not surprised at all to see the sun. I expected it to be there. We're not surprised by most of these things because they're always there. We probably don't use the word faithful in describing our bathroom sink or our kitchen lights or even the sun in the sky. We probably don't use the word faithful, but that in fact describes the word faithful. Faithfulness is by definition the predictable, habitual, sturdy routine. I'll read that again. It's the predictable, habitual, sturdy routine. Faithfulness. It is the evidence of those things seen, but seen so often that we almost grow blind to it. Faithfulness is the substance of the things expected, and expected to the point that we sometimes take them for granted. Faithfulness, the things that we expect without even thinking about it. The things that take place probably during our daily lives every day that we really don't even think about. Faithfulness, the predictable, habitual routine. You would be more surprised if the water didn't come on, or if the lights didn't come on, or if the sun wasn't out. That would be more of a surprise than the fact that it's actually there, because technically, although we don't use that word, it faithfully happens. The water faithfully comes out, the lights faithfully come on, the sun faithfully comes up. I even thought this morning about Old Faithful. For some of you that know, that's a geyser. If you don't know what a geyser is, I'm not going to have a science lesson this morning, but I thought of Old Faithful. I remember reading about it one time, and don't hold me to this, but I believe it was discovered in like 1870, something like that. And if I'm not mistaken, once again, don't hold me to this, but I believe it's every 62 minutes or every 63 minutes, whatever it is, that Old Faithful, the geyser comes out. You know, the reason it's called Old Faithful is because it's been doing that since whenever. I think it was 1870 they discovered it. It's expected. It's really not maybe that amazing because you expect it. You're like, this is going to happen. This is something that, we know that's going to happen because it's been happening since 1870. If we read the remainder of these words in this chapter in Lamentations where we were just at, in Lamentations chapter 3, we'll find the writer, which, by the way, the writer of the book of Lamentations is Jeremiah. We'll find Jeremiah describing some of the current issues and some of the current situations that he finds himself in, and also those that are reading this letter, this book that he's writing. And if you're honest, it doesn't look particularly pleasant. Here are some of the descriptive words that Jeremiah uses in Lamentations chapter 3. Just in chapter 3, he uses the word bitterness. He uses the word broken. He says that everything around him is crooked. He describes it as being dark. He uses the word desolate. He says that he feels heaviness. He says that he's in misery or he's miserable. Nothing that sounds really, really favorable. As a matter of fact, all of those things would be described as negative or unpleasant. But then he says something that really doesn't match with all of the other things he says prior, because Jeremiah is describing in Lamentations 3, this isn't good. Things aren't going as planned. Things aren't really in line right now. And then he says, but man, God is faithful. In the middle of his heaviness and brokenness and darkness and misery, he has to stop for a moment. Something must have clicked, and he said, wow, but God is faithful. God is always faithful. We serve such a faithful God that we sometimes forget just how really faithful he is to us. We're commanded all through Scripture to be faithful. You know, Jesus even said one time, when I come again, will I find faith on the earth? And I've preached countless messages and taught Bible studies about faithfulness and about the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And in order to be called a good and faithful servant, you must first be found faithful. And we use those terms to describe us as the church or Christians all the time. It's a requirement of us to be faithful. But do we ever really stop just for a moment and realize how faithful the God that we serve really is? We don't get too excited about it sometimes. Just like you didn't get excited when you turned on the faucet in your bathroom this morning. You didn't go run around and tell everybody else because you expected it. You didn't do cartwheels, and you didn't text all your friends when you turned the light switch on and the lights came on, because you expected it. I wonder how many of us this morning got out of bed and just started spouting the faithfulness of God. You know, we pick up our phones, and when I say we, I'm including myself. We pick up our phones and we tell people the bad stuff that happened and how negative it is, and we look on Facebook, we see all the terrible things and the tragedies that are taking place all around us, and we'll tell somebody how broke we are, and we'll text somebody how sick we are, and we'll say how terrible it is, and I don't know, we'll say that, but how many of us just picked the phone up to send a text message about how great God was today? The faithfulness of God. See, Jeremiah was writing this, and he's saying, man, it's dark, and it's bleak, and it's crooked, and it's broken, and it's sad, and it's miserable. And then something in his head clicked, and he said, but man, isn't God faithful? I thought about an old song that we sing sometimes at the church, and man, do I wish we were standing in the platform right now at 11:56, and do I wish Sister Juanita was on the piano, and do I wish Brother Leo was on his guitar, and do I wish I could start singing and hear the notes being played behind me of the song that we sing sometimes. He didn't have to do it, but he did. No, he didn't have to do it, but he did. Well, he woke me up this morning. He started me on my way. He didn't have to do it, but he did. I wonder, don't worry, I'm good. Just to get a little emotional. I wonder what would happen if we thought like that. just this morning, just today, the faithfulness of God. Just what God did today. Just since I've been up, it's 10:45 in the morning. And the amazing faithfulness of God that we so often get used to. We get used to it, so it doesn't always amaze us like it should. It doesn't always affect us like it should. But man, isn't God faithful? He's faithful to us all the time. As a matter of fact, Jeremiah said after he stopped for a moment and thought about it, he said, "They're new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness." I just think about just the things in our life, and we don't have to list them, and from the greatest to the least important, but just to think, he woke us up this morning. He woke us up today. This air that we breathe, the life that we have just today. God gave us that. The faithfulness of God just right now in this moment today. I remember a lot of the old time saints, and sometimes we don't think about this. It's once again an example of the faithfulness of God that we sometimes just take for granted. But they used to always say, "He gave me my right mind." We would say things about my life, my health, my strength. And on a day like today, with the situations and the circumstances that are going on around us, oh, the faithfulness of God, that he did keep me in my right mind, my life, my health, my strength. The faithfulness of God, that he woke me up this morning and started me on my way. How great is the faithfulness of God? Once again, sometimes we just get so used to it, it doesn't surprise us, or it doesn't affect us, or it doesn't amaze us like it should. Man, ain't God good. Yeah, there's a lot of things going on around right now, just like they were in Jeremiah's time. Just like what Jeremiah was writing in the book of Lamentations. Let me go back to his words and see if it doesn't describe 2020 right now. And he said he's bitter, and it's broken, and everything was crooked. Nothing was straight like it was supposed to be. It was dark. He felt desolate. He felt a heaviness. He even used the word misery. I feel miserable. And man, if we look around us, there's a whole lot of things that would fit those descriptions. But then he said, but then I stopped for a moment. Jeremiah says, but this I recall to my mind. And because I brought this to my mind again, I now have hope that God is so faithful. He is so faithful to us. Sometimes when someone or something is not faithful, we suddenly think that God is somehow become like other people or other things. Sometimes the things in life that we think are sure and concrete sometimes turn out to not be that way. Something that we always thought would be one certain way, when it changes, we sometimes put God into that same category. When something in our life that used to be so sure, when something in our life was so solid, and then that changes and it's not solid anymore, it's not faithful anymore, it doesn't do it like it's supposed to anymore. We sometimes put God in that same category, and we forget the faithfulness of God. I know I've said that 100 times this morning, but it's just resonating in my mind how faithful God is to us. Jeremiah says, "It's great is thy faithfulness." I read a quote, and I want to read it to you. It's not mine. It's from Max Lucado. So not my words, but his. But I want to read them. It's about the faithfulness of God. He says, think about it for a moment. Just like Jeremiah said, I had all this other stuff I was listing, but then it came to my mind, and I had to stop for a minute. I had to think. Max Lucado says, think about it for a minute. God never pauses to eat or ask the angels to cover for him while he takes a nap. He never signals a timeout or puts the prayer request from Russia on hold while he handles those from America. You ever catch God in a bad mood? It won't happen. Will fear ever exhaust his amazing grace? Will he ever give up on us? Never. Ever worry that if you go to him, you'll find him in a non-receptive mood? Not God. Lovers will call you today and scorn you tomorrow. Companies follow pay raises with pink slips. Friends applaud you when you drive the classic and dismiss you when you drive a clunker. But not God. For great is his faithfulness. The book of James says it like this, that there's not even a shadow of change in God. I haven't been serving God maybe as long as some of you other ones that are logged in here this morning, and then maybe I've been serving God longer than some of you, but the length of my serving God doesn't change at all the faithfulness of the God I serve. He was faithful before there was a me. He'll be faithful when I'm not here no more. He was faithful to my grandmother and my grandfather. He was faithful to my mom and my dad. He was faithful to all the saints that have gone on before. He's faithful to the saints that serve him right now. And he'll be faithful until this thing ends. Because great is the faithfulness of God. It never changes. We sometimes don't recognize just how faithful God is to us. And in this time right now of uncertainty and fear with some folks and chaos and all these other emotions that sometimes the saints of God are feeling and everybody around us is feeling, our neighbors are feeling it, our friends and our loved ones in this time of uncertainty, just like Jeremiah had in Lamentations. And if we could take a pen and a paper and start making a list right now of the emotions and the things that we see around us, might not be a whole lot of good stuff in there. We would say this happened and that happened, and this person's sick and that store's closed and this person lost their job and this. And if we made a whole list, the list might not be real positive, but then we would have to stop for a minute and say, but man, isn't God faithful? Every day, the Bible says, daily he loadeth us with benefits. He doesn't just give us a few, he loads us with benefits every day, because great is the faithfulness of God. I'm going to read one more passage of scripture in your hearing, and then we'll close for this morning. This is just supposed to be a devotional, so pastor's not going to preach a message to you. But the book of Deuteronomy, chapter number 7, and verse number 6 says this. Deuteronomy 7:6, for thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all the people that are upon the face of the earth. The Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because you were in number. You were more in number, than any other people, for you were the fewest of all people. But because the Lord loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he hath sworn unto your fathers, hath the Lord brought you out with a mighty hand and redeemed you out of the house of bondmen from the hand of Pharaoh king of Egypt. Know therefore that the Lord thy God, he is God, the faithful God. If we were sitting in church, I would say that with me, church, the faithful God. If you're listening, say it, just the faithful God. which keepeth covenant and mercy with them that love him and keep his commandments. And here's what I like, to 1,000 generations. The faithfulness of God. The God that loves you, the God that keeps you, the God that chose you, the God that formed you and made you is faithful. And his faithfulness does not end. It says to 1,000 generations. We could do math if we wanted, but let's just say a really, 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 really long time. It's not over now, and it's not going to end anytime soon. The faithfulness of our God. I want you to think about that today for a moment. Just think about how faithful God is to you. More faithful than anything else in your life. Came by again this morning and woke you up. You've got friends and family around you right now. You've got people that love you. And you've got a God that has been faithful to you. The faithfulness of God. Jeremiah said, I had to stop for a minute with all of the negative things that were going on around me and remind myself how faithful this God that I serve is. The faithfulness of God. Take a moment today, church, and anyone that's still logged on here, and remind yourself of how faithful the God that you serve is. If you're not serving him, let me tell you something. He's faithful to you even when you're not faithful to him. Think about it. Even if you're not currently serving God, attending church, being a Christian, however you want to describe it, if that's currently not your life, man, think how faithful God has been to you also. I appreciate everybody logging on here this morning. I hope you have a wonderful, blessed, safe day. Be safe. Enjoy the time that you have with your family. Take some time today to pray. Seek the face of God. And then I know you ain't got nowhere to go tonight. I know you can't go to the movies, and I know you can't go to the ball game, and I know you can't go to Texas Roadhouse. So I'm trying to dodge this light that keeps getting in my eye. So I know you don't have anywhere to go tonight. So how about 5:30, everybody logs back on here to Evening Light Apostolic Church, and we'll have another word from God, and we'll hear from heaven again. I love you, Evening Light. I miss you more than you'll ever know. If you need prayer, let me know. Text me, comment on here. I'd be more than happy to pray with someone. Remember today, in the midst of all the chaotic things that are going around us, that we serve a faithful God. Great is thy faithfulness. I thank God this morning and every day for the faithfulness of God. May God richly bless you and keep you. Look forward to seeing you again next time here on Facebook Live. Love you.